how scared all of the women were to tell their story. And they were literally just telling facts, telling the truth, but it was so clandestine, and she had to beg them, and she had to earn their trust, and they had these secret meetings, and it was at night, and then when the book did come out, everybody was panicking, and then there was trouble in the town when the book came out. And when I closed the book, I wept. Hi, welcome back to Gotta Be Me podcast. We're so happy to be here again with you this evening. We're your hosts. If you've never met us before, my name is Sophia Benyon, and this is my cousin, Peyton Benyon.
Welcome back to our channel, everybody. If you are new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
You're supposed to say thank you. You always say thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Your
If you do
fingers
it, then
are
thank you.
so close to the like button. Just tap it. It's right there.
Hey, that's enough.
Okay.
We're back again with another book. This time it's The Help by Kathryn Stockett. Hope I said that right. We've been talking about, or we have talked about, a book that changed our lives, and this is the second one that we're talking about today. I feel like I read The Help when I was pretty young. Like, I was definitely still in high school. How about you? Or was it? Did you read it?
Yeah, definitely in high school, which wasn't that long ago.
You just got out of high school. Oh, I feel so old. Anyway, I'm not old. I know I'm not, but I just sometimes feel like I'm old. And it's another book that I stayed up late for. The last book we talked about, I stayed up late for. And I remember, like, laying in my bed and, like, reading the last few pages. And when I closed the book, I wept.
No way.
Like, not just, like, you know, your eyes fill up when it's a good... I was, like...
Why?
I was boohooing.
Why did you weep?
I guess, like, as I was coming to the end, I was all of a sudden like, wait, like, kind of, when is this book set? Like, in my mind, I wanted to know. And I went back through the book, and I realized that it was kind of set in the 60s. And all of a sudden, I was like, you know, my brain starts calculating. I was like, my dad's born in 74? This means, like, this happened while my grandparents were living. Or, like, obviously it's not a true story, but, like, this kind of thing was happening while my grandparents were living. And I guess that just struck me, like, so heavily, like the help, that could have been my grandma. What if my grandma had been a maid like that? Like, what if she had lived in the South? What if she'd been Medgar Evers' neighbor when he got shot on his front porch? Like, that happened, like, it wasn't that long ago. And I think it, in a way, I think it kind of traumatized me. Because, like we mentioned in the other book video, and like we'll probably mention again, we grew up super sheltered. You know what I'm saying?
And you hear about it, but it's not like
there
in your life like that.
And I want to say also, I want to reiterate that we're very thankful for how we were raised and the things we were protected from. But it just means when it comes to you like boom, you know, like
hits you hard.
Hits you hard. And I was just like, oh, this didn't happen. Like, it brought the civil rights and all of the racism. You know, racism is such a misnomer, you know, because we're all one human race, but prejudice and whatever it all is, it brought it so much closer to me. Because up until that point, you know, you learn about a history, though obviously not enough. The history books.
You hear about I Have a Dream. And never even tell you about Malcolm X, really, except to paint him in a bad light.
Literally. And, you know, you hear a little bit. But then, thankfully, you know, our history learning was supplemented with, like, our parents bought us good books, you know. But even then, the book seemed very far away. Like, it was like a history book.
And we had, like, so many Underground Railroad books, right? And you don't have...
Yeah, we had a lot of slavery. I feel like I read an abundance.
Right, I believe I did too, but I feel like I read the books that were from, like, for the ages of, like, 10, 11, 12. Like, I read a ton of books right then.
But I didn't have as many teenager type books, so it was, like, a big deal when I read it. I think I read it even before I read The Hate U Give. And it just affected me so deeply. Like, I just felt like, I don't know, I guess, like, just kind of the horrors of it, like how bad it was, how difficult it was. One of the things that really popped out to me was how scared all of the women were to tell their story. And they were literally just telling facts, telling the truth, but it was so clandestine, and she had to beg them, and she had to earn their trust, and they had these secret meetings, and it was at night, and then when the book did come out, everybody was panicking, and then there was trouble in the town when the book came out, and just, like, just how serious it was. I don't know do you remember the one lady that tells her story in the book that actually did end up stealing from her mistress because she she only had enough money for one twin to go to like
I might remember
just
that.
the little things like that, and like how deep seated the racism was, and like the girl that was writing the book, remember, like,
Skeeter.
yeah, remember her boyfriend, like, he liked her even though she was different.
Yeah.
But
and then it was kind of horrifying whenever he like kind of
he broke up with her,
her.
but that was because he was having emotional issues. But then he got back and he wanted to marry her. But when he found out this was what she was doing, he was like, I can't.
Nah. And that it would like go that
And that
deep,
someone
right?
that did that, you know, if that was true, you know, he could still be alive now. Like, I don't know. It just affected me. I was just like, what is this? Like, this is so real. This happened to my family. This happened. My grandma probably experiencing like this. And also we, I mean, I asked her about it too. I was like, Grandma, like, after that, you know, I was way more curious. And we trust to get them on the podcast sometime very soon. But I went back, like, tell me, like, what do you... And she remembered one of the things that stuck out to me that she said she remembered was, she remembers when they would go to town, they always had to dress in their best, like, Sunday clothes. And their dad and mom would tell them, like, just keep your eyes on the ground. I was like, that was you!
Yeah.
Like, when you grow up, you don't think it's
shocking,
just,
right?
grandma.
It's just a
grandma.
story. And you don't connect history with real
your
people. And
right?
like, this is what actually happened. I think that's a problem with history. And I think maybe it's purposeful that we don't connect it like that. Like, this happened to real people.
Stories.
Our ancestors was really doing this.
But yeah. But the help for me made it really real. I mean, like, the people in there, they have a lot of personality. You really you get connected to Aibileen. You get connected to different characters. And then it's like, wait, what? This could have been my family. This happened not that long, you know. I don't know. How'd the help change your life?
Well, the help didn't change my life.
I don't want you to say
Okay,
that.
well, it was very impactful, but we're talking about books, and she said this one affected her more. I didn't necessarily have a moment about
I feel like
it.
you should be ashamed.
I'm not ashamed.
It's
It
a
was
good
really good. It was really good, and it definitely helped enrich my life, my brain. I am enriched from reading it, but I didn't just have I didn't cry. I didn't have
A moment
like that. But now that I said all that, I forgot what I was gonna say. What was the question again?
You gotta love Minnie. I was just asking you how it affected you, kind of like.
Okay. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, I really thought about the Black women that raised a lot of white America.
Yeah.
She was literally this child's mother for most of her life. And then the help, always knowing at a certain point when a child reaches a certain age, you gotta let them go.
Right.
And the child rejects you, feels superior than you, and treats you like
the help. That grows up to treat you.
Oh, well, there's
and you know what?
the help.
If you read it a little bit, actually, Catherine Stockett, like, she talks about how they were raised with a nanny.
And that Black women must have raised so much of America. I don't think I really realized that at all.
Like, in a way, Black women have been the mothers
of this
America.
Nation. Yeah. So that part was really interesting to me. I was like, it's just really tough to make that make sense in your mind. Like, how could this child and it's so emotional too. Like, the child is literally
more attached to her than
more attached to Aibileen than she is to her own mother. And then for Aibileen to just Black people just understood, like, I gotta go. It's my time to go. You know, that's how far you could use me, and just that really struck me as I was reading the book.
Is there any other way that you feel like the help changed, like, maybe your perspective just on history? Like, for me, it's just, I feel like it was just a piece of history that I'd never really heard about before.
It filled in, it definitely filled in a part for me, because you hear, like, about the civil rights movement, and that's what the 60s are talking about. Like, the civil rights movement, that's all you hear about, right?
The buses and the lunch counters.
And you know all about that, and you read all about everything that's going on, but you don't read about what was just going on in everybody's day-to-day life.
Right. And, like,
what was life like?
And of course, and the people that marched and rode the buses were crazy brave. But these women, what they did was really brave too. And they stayed right at their houses. You know, they didn't march. They couldn't. You know, they had
Gave a different
families.
perspective.
I mean, right. Minnie had, what, like 7 children. She couldn't march. She didn't have, but she decided, you know, I'm going to just speak up. I'm going to tell my story, no matter what the repercussions are. And that was a brave move too, you know. Yeah. Well, the help did change your life. You just don't know it.
Okay. I'll have to take your word for it.
I'm telling you. Well, that's all we have for you. Definitely recommend reading The Help. This is another one where I have to say, the book is so much better than the movie. Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie.
I'm glad I watched it because I'm always glad when I watched Viola Davis. When I see her, then I'm glad. And the actress that played Minnie's part, I never remember her name. It's terrible, but she's a great actress as well. So, and Emma Stone, of course, is great. They got great actors and actresses together, but it's just, what can you do with 2 hours? You know, I'm not blaming, you know, how they set it up, but it just leaves out it leaves out such funny parts of the book, like, that had me laughing out loud. That's another thing. This book was an emotional roller coaster for me. I went from laughing out loud, like, Mom, look, this is so funny, to weeping. Anyway, yeah, you gotta read the book. If you've only seen the movie, you gotta read the book. You miss a lot. Anyway, well, that's all we have for you. Y'all know what time it is.
Peace, love, and hair grease.